Exercise 19. In this exercise, we're going to learn a little bit more advanced functionality with the sheet metal tools built inside SolidWorks. Now, as you can see here, I have my PDF file open, and we can see what we're going to build is this. We have a computer case that's given to you. You have the front and some of the interior parts, but you just have to build the shell for the outside. Some of the tools we'll be exploring in this, as we've learned in previous sheet metal, we've actually seen some of the functionality with just the flatten tool as well as the insert bends or rip. Today we're going to use mostly the tools that you see on the left hand side here. We'll learn how to create a hem, a miter, an edge flange, and the base flange. To start us off, we're going to go ahead and open up the assembly. So just go to File, Open, find your 2203 folder, Sample Files, Exercise 19. Go ahead and select it, open it up. You'll see that there already is a shroud covering the back side. In this case, we have the original cover. If that's there, all you want to do is just select it and find the Hide button, Hide Components. Now, let's go ahead and insert our new part. So we go to Insert Components. Excuse me. Go to Insert, and at the very bottom, click on New Part. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the front plane to drop it in on. So it will match our assembly. What it's done is the front plane is actually off of this face here, off of this little edge. And we're going to go ahead and copy that. So if we just select this face, and just to give you a little perspective, I'll rotate it so you can see it. It's just this backside face of the plastic front bezel. Select that face and use Convert Entities. Okay. Now it should have converted all the edges. We'll see here at the bottom even we want to open this up. So we could select this bottom edge and hit delete on the keyboard. The next thing you want to do is you want to take the line tool and draw on a little line right here. And right here that's where the sheet metal is going to go up to. And then go to your Smart Dimension tool and add a dimension at the bottom of 0.4. So both of those. Okay. The next part is we need to extrude this. Now, you don't use, with the sheet metal tools, in this case, in the past we've learned how you could extrude and add sheet metal later. We're going to actually add the sheet metal at the same time while we extrude. So let's bring up the sheet metal tools. Just right click up at the top here, somewhere on the gray area, and you'll find sheet metal tools near the bottom. We don't necessarily have to dock it. I'm actually going to leave mine floating out here a little bit so you can see it easier. What you'll find is there's a base flange tool. This tool will do both for us. It will extrude and create a sheet metal part all in one shot. We'll go ahead and select extrude, or this base flange tool. Now we'll see a little preview in yellow here. What we want to do is we want it to go all the way to this face here, so we can actually select one of the edges of the back face. Make sure it's one of the outer edges, not one of the inner tangent edges here. Okay, and it automatically extends to that length. So we have up to vertex. Select that by default. Okay. Now, what we're going to look at here is next we'll use the sheet metal parameters, and we could add the thickness. 0.029 is the default. we could just work with that. That's just fine. Okay. And as we zoom up here, we can see that there is a little bit of clearance to go thicker if we like. We could go with 60 thousandths. As a matter of fact, let me just double check what the manual specifies. All right. Yes, it looks like 60 thousandths is, let's go with 60. That's 0.06. And the inside bend radius, again, if we look at our manual, is set to 0.06 as well. Now there already are radii on here. If we want a little tighter though, we could leave it at 0.03 or whatever, or even 0.01 10 thousandths. Let's leave it at the 10 thousandths default. We'll give ourselves some nice small inside bend radii versus 60 thousandths might be a little bit large in some cases. Okay, now again you have all the options for K-factor, bend table, bend allowance, or bend deduction, which we covered in the exercise 11 in the fundamentals class. The auto relief, just leave it at rectangular and a ratio of 0.5. And let's hit apply, hit the green check mark up here at the top. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use another tool. Right here at the very bottom, when someone lifts this computer case, we don't want them cutting their hands. So we're going to use what they call the hem. We could select the edge here of the part. Be careful not to select the face. Select this edge right here, you can see, and then go to the hem tool on your sheet metal toolbar. Right away you can see a hem forming, and the default is pretty much right up to the other edge. We could just leave that if we like it, or we could manipulate it down here. First of all, we have material inside. There is material outside as well. You can see what that does. Over here we have closed, open, teardrop, or rolled options. All these can be manipulated with changing the dimensions. In this case, we'll go with open. Now here you can see that the gap distance can be set. It's defaulting here to 4 thousandths of an inch, which is fine in this case. And the length is 0.24. We'll leave it at that. Let's zoom out, and before we hit apply, let's apply it to the, let's add another one on this edge. And then hit the green check mark to apply. And there is our hem. Another thing we might want to add is on the base. We need to add here is a flange that goes all and wraps all the way around. We could use the Mitered Flange tool for this. For the miter, you have to give a little more information than what we just saw there. In this case, we could select near this endpoint, click on this edge, and start a sketch. Actually, we have to go up here to the sketch tool. And what it does is it creates a plane perpendicular to that edge. Oh, I selected the wrong edge. Let's get out of that. Let me hit rebuild, exit sketch. Make sure you select the inside edge of the part you're working on. Can you see that right there? Let's start your sketch. And it should have generated a new plane off of that edge. And at this point, we can take the line tool, glide up to that origin that we see there, and drag out a horizontal line. Make sure that you get the horizontal symbol, click to drop it, and add a dimension. So go to Smart Dimension and add a 0.5 inch flange. Or I should say line, which will be a flange in just a second. Alright, now that we have that fully defined, let's zoom out a little bit here so we can see this. Now we could go to Mitered Flange. You select that, and right away we can see that it's taking our line and it's extruding it down and it's adding a bend in there as well. Before we go any further, let's take a look at this. Right now we can see that the material is set to inside. It's intersecting the part. So for this we probably want to select material outside on the left hand side. There's also bend outside. That will give us a little more clearance if we need it. But material outside gives us a nice flush surface where they're both contacting. So that's what we want to use in this case. We could set a gap distance if we want. We could even adjust the start or end offset. As you can see here, if I adjust this number here, we can put a little bit of an offset if we need to. And we can set a custom bed allowance. But if we zoom out a little bit further again, what we'll see here is we see this little button. You can see it does not carry all the way around just yet, but if you click on that button, it will find all the edges. And it carries itself around and creates the miter for us. Now it doesn't create it on the inside radius there, but we can see our miter starting. And where we saw gap distance, if we increase this, you can see that is the gap between the miter there. Let's make it a little tighter at 10 thousandths. Now there are some problems with this sometimes, and as you can see right here, if we go around the bottom right side, we can see that there's material overlapping. If we were to apply this, we'd get an error. We have to get rid of these edges that were selected. Now if you go in and you try and select them, you can't. You have to select them from the miter parameters box on the left hand side here. So if you go to the very bottom, they usually go in some sort of sequence or order, and if you click on them, you can generally see which ones they are in a highlight. In this case, these ones on this side are 9 or 8, 9, and 10. So as I click on those, I could right click and I could hit delete, go back down there. That was 6 is what I want to get rid of. As I click on it, we can see it highlight right there. I'll delete that. 7, I'll hit select it, right click on it, hit delete, and probably 8, right click, delete, and then 9, right click, delete. It looks like that takes care of all those on that side. You can see it cleared up. So we have to get the ones on this side, and these should be the very last ones. So probably 13, right click, delete, 12, delete, and 11, delete. And we're all clear there. Just make sure you do that to resolve any issues that might occur in the future. Generally, this doesn't always happen. It only happens if you, in this case, I had some feature complexity at the very bases. Hit apply, and now you have your flanges. Okay, now we have to get those through holes in here so we can put screws inside. What we want to do next is we're going to go ahead and select any one of these flanges here on the face, start our sketch, and go to Wireframe. We'll find Wireframe right up here under Display Style, and there we could see them. Sometimes I'm able to select them, sometimes I'm not. I'm not sure. It seems to change with different versions of SolidWorks. So what you sometimes have to do is go around the back side and select the edges and hit Convert Entities. Be careful not to select the wrong face. This can be a little bit of a challenge to have to go through and grab these. Okay. If you need to, you could actually hide some of the other components. Like, for example, we could technically try and hide the front bezel, and that's just done by finding the front PC front bezel, right-clicking on it, and you'll find Hide Component. And that might make it a little easier to get in here. Oh, there's still a piece of metal there. I think we can get it right here. There we go. All right, let's go back to shading mode. And now we could just do an extrude cut. Actually, on the sheet metal tools, there's an extrude cut on that. It's the exact same extrude cut. It's just a link to the other ones. And you'll find an option over here to the left, which is link to thickness. And link to thickness is only shows up in sheet metal parts, and it just makes sure it's like a through the one sheet that you're working on, versus it won't go through the whole part, which is nice. So let's hit the green check mark, and now we have our holes in there. Okay, let's bring back the front bezel, right-clicking, and show. All right, and that is it. Let's just, to double check this, we could turn off Edit Component. Let's right-click on the part that we want to look at, and we have the option to open the part here up at the very top, left side. You don't want to necessarily flatten it inside the assembly. Sometimes you get some strange phenomena that can occur. Now we still have some planes here left over from when I was fiddling around with creating the miter. So if you want to hide those, you just click on them and click on the little set of eyeglasses that are up here. That hides them. And now to test it. You should be able to find on your sheet metal tools, if you don't have them up, bring them up again, right click, sheet metal, and you'll find flatten. And there it is. Now, let's say for a drawing, you want to create some flattened stages, or unfolding stages, or folding stages, sometimes they're called, inside the drawing. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, and how it should be folded. Here's how you can do that. Let's hit the flatten button again. And what we'll do is over here we have some options. We have unfold and fold. And we're going to first start with configurations. So over here, actually we'll leave those configurations alone first. We'll first start unfolding. So we'll click on fold, and it just says select the fixed face. In this case, we'll select this as a fixed face. The bends to unfold, we'll select this bend here and this bend and hit apply. Now we'll select unfold again, and we'll select this. We have to select the fixed face, which in this case the fixed face could be the base again, and we could select this and this, and we'll get these little guys too, the miters. Hit apply. And then the next thing we want to do is we've got to get the hems. So one last time, unfold, select the fixed face, and then you have to get in here and select that. And then this bend here. Okay, so we have 3 unfolds, and now if we need to fold it back up, you could click on fold here, or you'll see it in the steps here. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and over here on the left on the configuration manager, we could right click and we could select add configuration, and we'll call this one stage 1. We'll add another one, just right click at the top, add configuration, stage 2. And one last one, right click, add configuration, stage 3. Alright, stage 3 will be our final, where it's completely flattened like this. Stage 2 will be where the hems are not folded, or are folded. So stage 2, just double click on it from the feature tree, and over here we find unfold 3. You just right click and find suppress, and in that configuration it will suppress the hems. Now let's go back to the configuration manager up here at the top, double click on stage 1, and we could go in and select, right click on unfold 3, suppress, unfold 2, suppress, and that's stage 1. And actually that should have actually been stage 2, and stage 3 would be the final stage. Unfortunately, in this case we'll just suppress all of them. I kind of messed this one up, so we'll just right click on this, suppress, suppress, and suppress. We could go back in here and rename this to, we'll call this actually stage 0. Okay, so stage 0, stage 1, stage 2. Let's go back to stage 0, and now we'll save this. We'll do file save as. I'm going to get a little message. That's okay. It's just saying you're going to save it as a different document that's listed there. That's fine. And I'm going to save it on my desktop. You could save it in the same directory as your files. And this is going to be called E19 cover. Alright, now to make the drawing, we go to File, Make Drawing from Part. I'm going to select a custom one under Novice. Select Drawing. Okay, and over here on the left we could see the different things we have here. So what we'll do, this one will just be a stage drawing. So first we'll drop in an isometric. So we'll just click and drag in the isometric. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and copy that. So I'm going to select the view. Don't select the actual part in the view. Select the view. Hit Control C. Click where you'd like to drop another one. Hit Control V as in Victor for paste. Click again somewhere else. Control V to paste. And now we can show the different folding stages. So in this view, I'm going to right click the one in the middle, and I'm going to go to, okay, so I'm going to select that middle view, go to More Properties on the lower left in the Property Manager, and select Stage 1. And that's our flattened stage with the hems and the bends put in for the miter, and then click on this view, go to more properties, and that will be stage 2, and that's just with the hems. So if we look up closely, here we can see here most of it's flattened. Those are the miters. The hems are still there. We'll fix that in a second because we need to add another view. Here it is with these radii put in, with these bends, as well as the backside. And this is the full constructed or bent object. Now we need to insert one more view. That's our flattened, completely flattened view or layout. So we could go to View Layout, Model View, make sure E19 cover selected, the part file, and we'll hit this little Next button up here, and we will find one that's called the Flat Pattern A, and we'll just drop that in. And there's our complete flat pattern. And we could actually drop in another isometric here. And this is when it's completely flat. Okay. And if we wanted to bring one more of those in, we could click on this and hit Control C to copy, select Control V to paste after you select somewhere. And then this one, of course, is a copy of that, and that's still not completely flattened, so we select it. And over here on the left, we go to More Properties, and we could select the flat pattern from that. And we kind of get it at a different angle. We could just go to the Rotate tool up here. Or actually, we might have wanted to make one more stage. Oh, stage, yeah, yeah, so this one's a little, if you wanted them all to look the same, unfortunately it's not working the way I was hoping. But anyway, we could have made one more flat stage, like a stage 3, that would have shown all those completely flattened out, versus using SolidWorks flat pattern, which generally wants to go flat like this and show you with all the dimensions. Okay, that's about it for Save This Off as exercise 19, and that's it.